Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about this weird, wild Joe Rogan situation. Because we've been talking about Rogan and the media's attempt to cancel him, get him removed from Spotify. And this has been going on since before the COVID controversy, since before the N-word controversy. There were Spotify employees that were trying to get rid of him like a year or two ago. And there's just been like constant.
If they can't get him one way, they try another.
Yeah, it's like that didn't work, so what else you got? You know, and they keep trying different techniques to get rid of him. It's interesting though, because Spotify will not get rid of him, and I don't think Spotify really can afford to get rid of him because Spotify has, as I understand it, very little like really exclusive content. They paid a shit ton of money for Joe Rogan to get him off of YouTube to come over to Spotify exclusively. And if they get rid of him, a lot of people will be like, well, why don't I just listen to Amazon now? Because it's the same stuff, you know? So we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about a reported competing offer that Rumble offered him $100 million to leave Spotify, to go over there. And Rumble is a kind of an upstart YouTube competitor. You know, very, very interesting situation.
No, to be fair, to be upfront, we don't watch Joe Rogan. I've never watched him.
I've watched clips. I've never sat through an entire
I've never
episode.
watched him.
I don't.
So this isn't about us supporting him because we like him or don't like him and trying to throw him under the bus or anything like that. This is about the fact that these people are trying to cancel him very hard, and that Spotify is standing with him, and they're saying that, you know, we don't condone what he says. We don't believe in cancellation, which is kind of where we always are. We think people say some shit they shouldn't say, and I'm like, I don't agree with what you said at all, and I think you're a shit for saying it, but I don't think you should be canceled because that's your opinion and you're allowed to have an opinion. So that's why we're talking about this.
Yeah, we've seen this before with you know, Dave Chappelle and Netflix, the same kind of thing. People railing against Chappelle, and Chappelle brings a lot. I mean, look, regardless of what you think about him, regardless of what you think about his routine, he brings a lot of eyeballs to Netflix. Same with Joe Rogan. People subscribe to Spotify just for Joe Rogan. They know this. So it's kind of like, but the thing is, the media is going to keep railing on this guy until something's going to give.
So now they're mad because apparently, and I don't know what context it was used in because I don't watch him, that he used the N-word over some videos, podcasts, and I took those down. I'm not going to claim I know in what context he spoke because I don't. If he did use it in a negative way, that's kind of shit, and I will never condone that.
As I understand, he said that it was taken out of context. He did apologize.
Which is possible because I know they do this. Yeah,
I mean, look, at this point, it's all about getting. And then what happens is when you've got one side trying to get rid of somebody, it's like you know, canceling each other out. You got like one side of the aisle trying to cancel somebody, so then the other side of the aisle decides they're going to dig up dirt on somebody else, and they're going to dig up like I saw a thing going around with Howard Stern. He was mocking Ted Danson and all this from years ago. Well, we're going to bring that up to fight against Joe Rogan, and it's just like it becomes tit for tat, and it's the whole thing is just like it's just bullshit. Can we just fucking stop? Can we lay down the whatever the freaking rules are? Like, this is the line you don't cross if you don't want to get canceled.
If companies are supposed to be canceled, people are supposed to be canceled for using insensitive racial-based words, then may I just point out again that using the Tinkerbell word repeatedly, when people keep telling you that it's offensive to them and they don't like it and they ask you nicely to stop, I would like to see all those people using those terms and all the bloggers and the companies happen to apologize. But they don't apologize. But they're allowed to be there, so they're allowed to be racially insensitive when it benefits them.
All right.
Not that I'm, because there's never a time to be racially insensitive.
This is about canceling Joe Rogan. They want him gone. They couldn't get him on the COVID stuff, so they're going to get him on stuff he said in the past, which I'm sure people have known about for years. Yeah. They were just holding that card in their back pocket.
Did he say it when he was on Spotify, or did he say it when he was on?
I think he said it on Spotify.
Okay, I don't know because I don't follow him.
I don't know. So we'll see. We're going to talk about it. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, over 256,000 subs. Thank you for the support. We've been talking about this in regards to cancel culture. Now, we, again, are not huge Rogan fans. I watch clips here and there.
I'd never watch him, to be honest.
I
just want to be up front.
Yeah, like, I guess what fascinates me about it, it's the same with Dave Chappelle. I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, but I'm fascinated by the media being so damn persistent. Like, they will not let it go. This guy has to get gone. It's day in, day out, constant articles, constant hit pieces, constant tweets. You know, they're not going to be happy until he goes. And then I'm like, okay, fine, you get rid of Rogan, then they're going to move the post again.
Well, I want to point out something else that's interesting. You don't have tied to here on this article you don't put up, but there were some people pointing out some things like, what was that one musician that pulled his music? That guy, that Neil.
Oh, Neil Young.
Yeah. Neil Young pulled his music. But then people were backtracking and they found connections to Blackstone.
Yes, they
and
did.
And Blackstone CEO, it was one of the people on their board, is someone who tied to some other thing.
There's a whole
so there's
theory.
Some, you know,
this is all about manipulating the narrative. Rogan has a massive audience. I mean, love him or hate him, he has a massive audience, just like Dave Chappelle. And that is a problem for some people in the media because they're like, oh my God, they're listening to this meathead instead of us.
Yeah,
you know?
pretty much.
Regardless of what you think about what he says, you don't have to listen to him.
But it seems like every other week there's another reason that they're trying to get him pulled down. And next week it'll be something different because this didn't work.
You know, Joe Rogan kicked a puppy, 20 years ago, and we got
because we said so.
Because we said so.
Yeah. So anyway, but what was interesting to me wasn't what he said or didn't say. It was the fact that the CEO basically said he's not canceling him because he doesn't believe in cancel culture.
Yeah. Very interesting because this is the same, Spotify that their employees were complaining about Rogan coming on the platform. And they're like, well, I'm sorry if you don't like it. We're the business leaders. If you don't like it, go work someplace else.
Just wait. The communication workers or whatever group will come in and say, let's start a union and
yeah, right. They will
demand voting rights.
Demand voting rights to vote Joe Rogan off the island. So Spotify CEO Daniel Ek told staffers Sunday the company will not be canceling Joe Rogan after a clip of the podcaster using the N-word went viral. Also, Howard Stern, dressing like Ted Danson.
I was going to say, Howard Stern himself has said some shit that should have got him canceled many times over. I'm just pointing that out.
Isn't that always the way? The people that have the most skeletons in their closet are the first ones that try to get somebody canceled. Eck explained his position on Rogan in a lengthy letter to employees that criticized Rogan's comments, but fell short of taking action against him. Not only are some of Joe Rogan's comments incredibly hurtful, I want to make it clear they do not represent the values of this company, he wrote in a memo. While I strongly condemn what Joe has said, I realize some will want more. They're going to want his scalp. I want to make one point very clear. I do not believe that silencing Joe is the answer. We should have clear lines around content and take action when they're crossed, but canceling voices is a slippery slope.
Because as soon as he cancels them and he goes someplace else, it's gonna make him even bigger.
Yeah.
It's going to literally be the Streisand effect.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that because there's already supposedly another offer on the table for as much money as Spotify paid him to move off of YouTube. So this guy just like, the more controversial he becomes, the richer he becomes. Like, you're actually making him more money.
Oh, that's what Dave Chappelle was making jokes about.
Yeah, it's like, you're actually making me hella rich. Is this what being canceled is like? It's like, you're making me rich. So he dropped the M-word almost 24 times while hosting his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, according to newly unearthed clips.
Which
Bullshit.
I don't condone using the N-word.
Bullshit, they were newly unearthed.
Oh, yeah, they're just holding on to that when one doesn't work, and they'll have something else ready to go for next week.
There are people that are obsessing about this guy. They are just obsessed with him. They are absolutely listening to every effing show he's ever done. They're taking screen captures of everything he's ever said. They're absolutely cataloging everything.
And all it does to Spotify is look, wow, look at all the views we got on this video.
Wow, that was pretty popular. Yeah, a podcaster called the viral compilation the most regretful and shameful thing I've ever had to talk about. He said that it was a collage of out-of-context snippets from 12 years of conversations. Eck confirmed in the letter, the company has had talks with Rogan about his use of
which I
racially
never agree with that.
insensitive language. Following the discussions, Rogan removed some of his podcast episodes from Spotify. Okay, so I'm sorry, we worked it out, right? Spotify also stuck by Rogan amidst his initial scandal surrounding the COVID-19 misinformation on his podcast.
I bet you money if you go to other Spotify people, even big ones, and some people that lean far, far, far left, and you scrub their video, I am sure you're going to find some racial slurs or things in among those.
Absolutely.
And I hope that Spotify is checking every video done by every person ever to make sure that they have to issue an apology and that they take down those videos because someone might get upset.
He got too big. This is the same game plan the media used against PewDiePie.
Yeah,
they poured through.
It didn't work.
It didn't work. But they basically triggered the apocalypse because PewDiePie had too much power. He had too big of an audience, too many eyeballs, too many people listen to him. So they dug up some clips, and they're like, oh, look, he's a racist because he said this one thing this one time.
I like this part. Legendary rocker Neil Young, that no one cares about anymore, and several other notable musicians that we're not actually naming because they're, you're not even naming them.
We forgot their names. Joni Mitchell. Somebody found a photo of her in blackface.
Oh yeah, well I'm sure. And then and there were some weird connections going around with
certain companies
and Neil Young. But it's funny. I love this. Legendary rocker Neil Young and other notable musicians we're not going to list.
And some other people that nobody gives a shit about.
No one knows who they are or cares about anymore.
Yeah.
Threatened. I think, but they were joking. Barbara Streisand was threatening to pull hers, and people were like, "It's literally the Streisand effect."
Charo came out and decided to slam Joe Rogan too. No,
it's a running joke now. No, it's a running joke. It's become such a joke that it's a meme now. That you find different rock groups that are fake rock groups, or like they're like Jim and the Holograms are pulling their music from Spotify, or Spinal Tap says they're pulling their music from Spotify. It's a running joke now that every band that doesn't exist is pulling their music from Spotify, because the public at large thinks it's effing stupid, and they're mocking you.
The monkeys are, yes, we know most of them are dead, but they're still pulling.
Yes, the general public is mocking this all over the place.
Anyway, Sunday's letter informed staffers Spotify will be investing $100 million to help boost diversity on the platform.
Oh, shut them up by promising diversity and throwing money.
That's what they did at YouTube.
Reparations.
No, that's what they did at YouTube. After the PewDiePie thing, they're like, hey, we have a fund to help smaller voices. And YouTube, and it was like $100 million. I'm like, YouTube makes that in like 15 minutes.
Okay, so then these platforms make anti-ginger comments. Do I get part of $100 million for reparations for insulting, me? If they mock women, do I get money for that too?
Oh, God. Spotify is confused, according to The Verge. They're confused about Joe Rogan. No, they're not confused. They know he's the biggest draw on the platform.
The Verge is confused about why their attempts to cancel him aren't working.
The Verge is confused that Spotify wouldn't cancel them. Now, here's the thing. Supposedly, this is coming from the Hollywood Reporter, Rumble is offering him a competing deal. Now, I don't know what his contract looks like, but $100 million to quit Spotify for right-wing platform. I don't know if Rumble's, I know they're a YouTube competitor, but it seems like this is why we don't really go in with alt tech, because it seems like every alt platform eventually gets a reputation
for being alt.
For being alt, like putting the alt in the tech. Like, no, seriously, like think of like every Twitter competitor. Think of every YouTube competitor. It's all like, oh my God, it's because it's where the alt-right goes.
It's because it's a narrative to keep you where they want you, is why. And sometimes it's true, and sometimes it's not true. But I just think it's funny because what's happening here is by these media outlets talking about him all the time, it's like Trump, where they kept getting all these hits using Trump, that whenever he left, it caused them to lose a lot of views. So they keep bringing him up for no reason. Well, the Joe Rogan name is doing the same thing. It's getting a lot of hits. But what it's doing is even people who don't like him are watching his show. So you're getting all the people hate watching him and all the people like watching him. And now it's just making his numbers go up even higher. You're just making him a bigger issue than he was.
Now, this is really interesting. They bring up the stock dropping. And you've got, Barron's here being like, don't blame Joe Rogan. There are other issues going on here. And they're like, you might actually want to buy up Spotify right now. I think people are looking at this like they're not sure what's going to happen. Are some people thinking Spotify is going to lose money because they're losing Neil Young? I think they're more concerned that Joe Rogan's going to leave and that's going to, have the value of the company because so many people signed up just for him. But anyway, Rumble offered $100 million. And that's what he was offered, I think, to walk away from YouTube. Joe Rogan has options. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's got a massive platform. He could leave tomorrow and he'd be fine. The controversial podcaster was offered $100 million on Monday to quit Spotify and join a right-wing platform. Chris Pavlovski, the CEO of Canadian video sharing platform Rumble.
Yeah, those horrible alt-right
Canadians. He probably drives a truck.
I'm sure he does.
tried to entice Rogan to jump ship in a letter posted to the company's Twitter account Monday. We stand with you, your guests, and your legion of fans and desire for real conversation. How about bringing all your shows to Rumble, both new and old, with no censorship for $100 million over 4 years? Because that's how you do a business deal. You don't like reach out to their agent. You just post it on Twitter.
Call me.
Call me. This is our chance to save the world. Yes, it's totally legit. Rumble was launched in 2013. I didn't think it's been around that long. It's built as an alternative to YouTube and big tech.
I barely ever heard of it. I'm no offense to Rumble.
Yeah, right. Last month, Rumble made headlines by striking a deal with Truth Social. I don't know. Social app being launched by Trump. So there you go.
Well, that's why they're saying they're far right. Because they made a deal with an ex-American president, but they're Canadian. I think it's so funny. I
don't even understand. Like, I didn't even think it was possible for Canadians to be alt-right and then this truck thing happened.
Well, I think it's funny. Unrelated but related. Some dipshit put a thing saying that we were white nationalists in a Twitter post. And I'm like, based on what? Because they said so, you know? And I was just like...
it's some anime YouTuber. Yeah, I guess he's nuts. People said he's nuts.
I just think it's funny. It's like you can just label people whatever you want. It doesn't make it true.
As of Monday, Spotify's post-Rogan gains have evaporated, with the streamer trading around 170 a share. Oh, that's bad. Company's stock slide far predates Rogan. Has almost certainly been hastened in recent weeks. Yeah, they're worried he's going to leave, you know. Yeah, it's also worth pointing out that Rogan was not solely responsible for Spotify's rise.
Well, if Spotify thought it was his fault that their stock was dropping, they wouldn't be making excuses for him because they have the perfect out to get rid of him right now.
Yeah.
And they aren't taking it. So that tells you what you need to know.
Yep. So yeah, they're basically like, yeah, you know, he makes us a lot of money and he said he's sorry and let's move on. And I think we're going to see a lot of this, you know, going forward where people are like, yeah, we're not listening to Twitter anymore because you're costing us money. Gonna wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.